One of the things you may not know is Nike actually has an official brand color other than black and white, and it's actually this orange colorway, which is super cool. What's more cool though is what's inside this box. These are the 2009 Vapor 4s with the lace cover, and I'm so excited to bring this pair of football boots to you guys with the orange Nike box, the original Nike box. These are the Mercurial Vapor 4 in FG. These are a 9 US. This is of course, in the Max Orange and Abyss Metallic Silver colorway. These are a 27 centimeters, a Euro 42.5, and a UK 8. These are thanks to a buddy of mine who sent these over. You know who you are. Thank you very, very much. And I am so pumped to see, oh my God. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, the OG Nike Mercurial Vapor 4. Still with the little tongue piece of fabric in there. These are absolutely untouched, never worn before. What an unbelievable pair of football boots. So iconic. And let's take a look. All right, so jumping into the unboxing, all of the original paper, all the original everything. You've got the other one in there. No string bag, because I don't think they actually had string bags back then. 2010, I know they had those little boxes for the World Cup models, but yeah, anyway. Unbelievable pair of football boots. These are absolutely stunning. And I know that a lot of people are like, yeah, but they're so thin and they're so uncomfortable, but like, these are iconic. These are going in a box somewhere. These are going in a shrine, because I think these are sick. These are so, so sick. All right, so let's talk tech specs of this Mercurial Vapor 4. So Mercurial Vapor 4, can't speak. Vapor 4 launched in June, July-ish of 2009. Cristiano Ronaldo obviously kind of headed the Vapor 4 launch and all that stuff. It continued the race of, quote, you know, like who's faster in the speed boot category, with CR7 racing the Bugatti, and that super, super famous ad that came in the span of Vapor 4 and then Superfly 1, which actually ended up not even releasing in this particular colorway. It's very, very hard to find. They actually made a re-release of that colorway in Vapor 13 that had this same colorway on it from the Superfly 1. It's a fully Teijin microfiber synthetic with this lace cover. So the lace cover, I imagine, will probably feel like a rubber sock. You can see it's kind of, it's a very weird texturing. It's kind of uncomfortable in some ways. Yeah, it's just a very weird cover. But the idea behind the cover was basically to give you a better striking surface and all that stuff. It had a revolutionary internal chassis for increased acceleration. So that came, if we can get actually some of this stuff out. I don't want to take all of this out because I think it does add to some of the aesthetic. We'll try these on, of course, out on the pitch. But let's get this. And there is, oh, still a little bit of, there we go. Oh my God, it was, okay, look at how this has formed to the perfect size. Oh my God, that's ridiculous. Okay, so very stiff. You can hear it crackling. And like, the sounds that this make is just insane. So there's an internal chassis. I'm not actually sure if we can see that from the sole plate or anything. Nah, there's nothing under there. Okay, so the bottom line is there's an internal chassis that basically was supposed to help with increased acceleration. You've got a pretty decent amount of snapback. There's a ton of rigidity here in the midfoot area, and it's very, very solid, but it's all covered in Teijin synthetic, which is really interesting. So this entire boot is Teijin synthetic. You've of course got the fly wire through the midfoot on the medial side, which is really interesting. I would have thought they would have done it on both, but I don't know. Maybe it was supposed to display the technology for future Superfly and Vapors to come. You have a contoured sock liner with EVA inserts for reduced stud pressure. So that's kind of right there. You can see those little bits that as you're going to press into the ground, they were supposed to allow you to have a little bit less stud pressure there, which is super cool. You've got a split sole construction with the multi-directional bladed studs. This is an obnoxiously aggressive sole plate. And as you can see, especially here and this area just worries me a lot. That's right where the knuckle of your big toe is. And I gotta say, this feels like if I wore these on AG, which I will for the initial review and stuff, but if I ever was to take these out on pitch, I would have to wear these on natural grass because this just looks like an absolute disaster and a torn ACL waiting to happen. Flywear was introduced here, as I mentioned before, and it added a little bit of lateral stability and lockdown, but again, we'll see if that actually is the case as we move into the on-feet portion of this video. These ran right around the 8.4 ounce mark, or 238 grams, which for modern standards is actually that's like not great. The Copa Pure is lighter than this. The Tiempo Legend 10 Elite is lighter than this. Pretty much everything is lighter than this for the most part, other than maybe the new Predator. But again, who is faster? This boot was meant to be and was sort of one of the lightest weight possible boots. Superfly was obviously lighter than this one, but then that's why at the time the Adidas, what was it called? The F50, I guess the original F50 Adi Zero with that insanely thin upper, which I do have a remake of. When they launched that for the World Cup, it blew everyone out of the water because it was so much lighter than these. And of course, the Vapor and the Superfly were like Nike's best attempt at the most incredible intent. They raced a Bugatti with this boot, right? Like this was supposed to be like the max speed, and then less than a year later, Adidas is like, mic drop. F50, right? So the other thing that's really interesting is that these boots actually came in around $220 for this particular model, Vapor 4, which at the time was the most expensive, or one of the most expensive boots on the market. Nike sort of pioneered and extended and sort of inflated boot prices because of the release of stuff like this. Obviously for the 2010 World Cup, they had the Vapor, I believe it was Superfly 2 or 3 with the scent stud, and those retailed for $400, which for even today's standard is obnoxious, but $220 for something like this for a Vapor is actually less than what they cost now, but for the time they were super expensive. And so I think that was an interesting play on how Nike decided to sort of make a little bit more money from this launch. Everybody was so hyped around it. CR7 had just gone to Real Madrid. He was racing a Bugatti in this pair of football boots, and that just created so much hype around it. This particular model actually is made in Italy, and I can't remember if that's because all boots back then were made in Italy at the Montebelluna factory, or whether this is actually like a player edition. It doesn't say on the inside, although it does say made in Italy on the little sizing thing there. We'll get a look at what the inside of the boot looks like, but you can see on the sole plate there, it says made in Italy on that text right where my finger is. So a really interesting pair of football boots. These are super iconic. They're super cool looking. I have no idea if my feet will even fit in these, and if they do, I imagine they're gonna get crushed. But we're gonna try. We're gonna attempt to put these on out on the pitch. So without further ado, let's get into first the inside of the football boot and what the inside looks like. I'll take the sole plate, or I'll take the insole out as well to get a sense of what the underneath the insole looks like. And you guys will extend a camera all the way into the back and the front of the football boot to give you guys a good idea of what the inside of the Vapor 4 looks like. And then of course, we'll hop into the on-feet portion of the video. Let's hop into it. All right, fam, here we are with the Vapor 4, a really cool look at the almost like leatherette insole there with the iconic stippled pattern, or dippled, what do you call it, stippled pattern? Am I totally screwing up my English here? There you go. So then you've got the Mercurial logoing, and then the Fabrique en Italie, or made in Italy there. So look at that pattern though. This is like kind of slippery. I would imagine that grip socks would be a must with this type of sole plate. You can see the shine of the light on it, and just creates this really interesting texturing. But here's where it really gets cool. So here obviously is the boot. You can see some of the stitching patterns there up close, really nice detailing. You can look into almost the studs. You can see how they're kind of clear. You can see my thumb through the bottom there. And then as we move to the inside, boom, carbon, straight away. Look at that. So if we open up, one of the iconic pieces of the Mercurials from this era were those two kind of foam pads on either side. This one obviously does not feature those because it's the regular Vapor as opposed to the Vapor SL or the Superfly. And then as we move into the boot, you can see this crazy shiny carbon plate that goes all the way up to the front of the boot almost. So it goes about to here, which is meant to be a really, really sturdy midfoot area. So if we go back inside the boot, you can see the inside stitching, really nice. That carbon plate looks absolutely sick. And then you can see the plastic material and some of the graphic stuff or logoing there. And all the way up, the Tajin synthetic comes right up to the forefoot. Doesn't look like there's anything but glue holding those things together. And then as you can see there on the right side, that's the Flywire. So the Flywire cables are those where my thumb kind of pushes in. Those are the Flywire cables there. So pretty cool. But yeah, awesome carbon fiber base plate. So this base plate actually is very similar to what you find in the John Stones boots that I have. So I didn't do a very good job. Obviously I didn't have this lens at that time, but maybe what I'll try to do is I'll try to take some B-roll of the John Stones boots, and this carbon base plate is actually the exact same as the ones in the John Stones boots. It just looks slightly different. Like it's probably just a thinner or a lighter weight material, but still to have a carbon fiber base plate like that in made in Italy boots. As I said before, I'm not sure if this is a sample pair because you can see on, let's see if I can go this way. You can see on the underside, ooh, right there. So you can see the made in Italy. I know it's a little blurry, but it's not gonna, let's see if I can get this to focus actually. There we go. So you can see the made in Italy sign, and because of the angle of this lens, I'm actually not able to get much of a view of that. But yeah, there you go. And then just really, really nice. Let's get that focus back. Boom. There we go. All right. So you can see the really nice stitching and the carbon base plate. Let's actually grab, I'm gonna grab the John Stones boots right now. So here we go. So I've got them side by side, and if I pull this little thing out, you can see the carbon shank in there. So see? And then it goes right up to about the same distance. So very cool. That's why I'm curious to know if this exact pair is actually a player edition, because it is made in Italy, and a lot of their Montebelluna factory is known for making player edition boots. So I'm wondering, similar to this John Stones boot, you can see his like code right there, and then you've got the carbon plate that sits in the exact same position as this older pair. And obviously the GT with the customizations and stuff is a lot newer than this Vapor is. So really interesting stuff there, but yeah, super, super cool. Let's get these on feet and figure out how they actually fit and how they compare to a more modern football boot. Here we go. All right, fam, out at the pitch with the absolutely iconic Nike Mercurial Vapor 4. Let's just hop into the on-feet portion. I never wore these, so I have no idea how insane these are in a way that I have heard is pretty negative. So let's get these on feet, but look at those. My goodness. What an iconic pair of football boots. That is going to be a travesty on this artificial ground. Like, even doing this, there is absolutely zero pivot power. Let's see if I can actually even get my feet in these. I'm honestly a little worried, but let's take a gander. here we go. I am wearing pretty thin socks, so I'm hopeful that I can just kind of slide in here. And because of the way that this, oh my fucking hell. Okay, here we go. I might have to just jam. Oh, there we go. All right. Wow. Those are probably the stiffest boots that I've ever had on my feet. Goodness gracious. All right. Let's try to tie these without like completely breaking my feet. One of the things that I'm already noticing is that the tongue cover right here is discolored a little bit because of the way that, you know, my feet had to go into this. Oh my God, these are so stiff. Look at the bowing of the material in the midfoot. Look at that. I mean, iconic looking, no doubt, right? But absolutely travesty as far as trying these on. Okay, let's get the other one. I am actually lucky that, if you guys remember from the previous section of the video, how the inside of the boot was all slippery and stuff. I'm actually lucky that that's the case, because I otherwise would not be able, holy shit, I would not be able to get into these boots. There we go. Oh my days. Well, these are probably one of the stiffest boots I've ever felt. I will say that a couple different times. They aren't destroying my feet in the midfoot as much as I thought they would be, but there you go. But I can tell just from doing this and pivoting, I'm gonna slip like a crazy person in and out of this football boot, and I just don't think the shape is built for my foot. I don't think it's built for anybody. Look how high the toe, look how much the toe box kind of lips up. Like it has this really interesting big bubble. Like, look at that. That's insane. Honestly, I'm just kind of enjoying this sensation of having this iconic pair of boots on my feet. That's what they look like in full kit. These are horrendously uncomfortable. Yes, they definitely feel like they lift you on your feet, especially with that carbon shank in the midfoot and the heel area. So they do feel actually surprisingly responsive. I would never wear, never, like it would be completely unsafe to try and wear these on an artificial ground pitch. Like genuinely, it would be unsafe. Touch on the ball. I mean, for the time, I know that these were super thin, but it feels pretty numb to me, to be honest. I mean, I think like if you take a boot from the same era, like a Copa or something like that, or an Audi Pure, I think at the time, those would be way more connected to the boot or connected to the ball than these. These are definitely not a football boot that I think would feel very connected, even if the Superfly was much thinner and lighter and all that stuff. But I mean, hey, you gotta admit, this football boot is an icon. It is classic. It is legendary for so many reasons. It's probably legendary in some really not so good ways either. And that's fine, because they don't exist anymore, and I'm just trying them on for the banter. One of the things that I'm noticing as well is like the creasing that happens in this football boot. I feel like I'm wearing a dress shoe. That's like the closest thing I can think of. I literally feel like I'm wearing like a super solid leather dress shoe, and I'm just like walking in with a tie and stuff. But again, like, this is a football boot I'm never gonna wear for a training session. I'm just gonna have them in the collection. I might sell them. So if you do have a reasonable offer, I'm willing to listen. DM me on Instagram at noah.cavanaugh. And if you are really like, you want this exact pair in a 9 US and you want them to play in or for your own collection, you can send me an offer. I can't promise that I'll say yes or even maybe, but it's there for you guys anyway. But I plan to just kind of keep these for just the banter, because I think they're kind of funny and they're really, really cool, honestly, with the carbon in them already. So that's going to be my review for the Vapor 4, the Mercurial Vapor 4. Really cool football boot, iconic looking, great colorway. Love, love, love the innovation that happened with this football boot, even if it wasn't executed that well. But yeah, I will leave a link to the most recent Vapor review for comparison to see how that technology has improved over time right there. As always, be awesome, take care. I'll see you guys in the next video.